The passage makes two arguments. The first is that of emergent properties. Emergent properties are then explained, and then an example of cells within a leaf are taken. One could argue that none of these, the explanation and the example, none of these are necessary because what we need are primary arguments. But then the example itself, it takes up about half the passage. So we realize that we should include it in the summary, in a summary. Option A says the biological anatomical structure becomes increasingly complex in order to resolve emergent properties that arise at different anatomical levels. Now, while this covers the two aspects, there's a reference to the leaf in biological anatomical structure, and then emergent properties are mentioned, but this changes the order of the subjects. So this is not a very good option. Let's not eliminate it just yet. Let's see if we can find a better option which covers both of these aspects and also presents them or constructs the statement in the right sequence of subjects, that is. Option B says emergent properties, this looks good, define the functioning of the plant organs or parts as each has a defined task which cannot be performed at the lower level of the organ. Now, this creates two problems. The first problem is that we have a distortion in emergent properties define the functioning of plant organs. No, emergent property is a characteristic or function that can be found at one level that is not present at the lower level. Plant organs, that is not the definition. Emergent properties do not define the functioning of the plant organs. Then again, we have the aspect of complexity inherent in the passage. That aspect is missing over here. We see as anatomical structures become increasingly complex in order to resolve emergent properties. So the aspect of complexity is something that we find suggested by the passage. Here we don't have that. So this is distorted as well as limited as compared to A. A has this one aspect more than this. So B is inferior to A. So we can eliminate B. Option C tells us each level of a plant organ or organ system can be defined by the function it performs, and thus the lower level can also be defined. This is extremely limited. We don't have the aspect of emergent properties mentioned at all. So again, in comparison to A, this is quite limited and quite inferior. C can be eliminated. Option D says the biological anatomical structure becomes increasingly complex in order to perform functions that also become increasingly complex. So this is slightly better than options B and C, but it makes the same mistake, it has the same problem as option A. It changes the subjects. The biological anatomical structure is mentioned first. It also mentions complexity or complex, the aspect of something being increasingly complex, but it doesn't mention emergent properties, which A does. So in comparison to A, D is also limited. So we can eliminate D. Thus, we have no other choice but to qualify A. It is not perfect, but it is closest. It is, out of these options, the best option available. Hence, the correct answer is option A.